I asked thousands of one and done moms why they decided to only have one child, and 12 overarching themes showed up, and we're going to talk about those 12 themes. But what's kind of weaved into all of them is this idea of mothers caring about their mental health and caring about their own well-being, which is kind of a new concept. And I think it can frustrate a lot of people who are a little bit more traditional when you say that, you're only going to have one child because you care about your mental health and your own well-being. But the 12 things that I'm going to go through are probably something that you can connect with. They're probably a feeling that you have, whether you're one and done or you're on the fence or you're child-free or you have more, but you're looking to kind of reconnect with who you are beyond motherhood. And as we get into these, I do kind of want to talk about the importance of caring about our own well-being as mothers, because when we take care of ourselves, we can take care of our child better, and we can actually be happy and live fulfilled lives, which is important, believe it or not, that women can do that. So the first and the most prominent response that I got was for their own mental health. People said things like, I can't do it again. I wouldn't survive it. I need to stay sane. I want to be a good mom to the one that I have. And I connect with all of those things. When my mental health is good, I can show up as a good mom. If I'm not showing up as a good mom, she's not going to have a good childhood. And I have to take care of myself and my own well-being and my own mental health so that I can show up and be good for her. And I know that I could not do that if I had a second child. I know I would be overwhelmed, overstimulated. It would be too much. I would be an absolute shit show. I know that about myself. I understand that about myself. I value my own mental health for myself so much that I don't want to risk losing myself entirely to a second child. And I think a lot of the moms who responded and said mental health can really identify with that. The second thing was pregnancy and postpartum was traumatic, which I also very much identify with. I had HG, hyperemesis gravidarum, which is basically your most severe form of morning sickness. I had a more mild form of HG that went away around 20 weeks, but I threw up about 5 times a day, every day for 20 weeks. And I couldn't eat either. I lost about 15 pounds. It was really bad. And I know HG is pretty common. Other things along the same line were things like traumatic births, which I didn't experience, but if I had a traumatic birth, I would never want to give birth again. NICU stays, postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, and long-term physical damage, because having a baby, it affects your whole body and it affects it forever. And it can have some pretty lasting, damaging health effects. Not for everybody, but for a lot of people it can. And that's something that one and done moms are very aware of and thinking about. The health impacts that pregnancy has on your body are not understood until you actually have a baby growing inside of you. And then you realize how heavy the weight is on your physical body, the thing that's keeping you alive in this world. Some of us don't want to sacrifice our physical health to have another kid, because we already have one here that we need to be taking care of. Third theme that came across a lot was capacity. Mental, emotional, physical capacity. I heard things like, I'm already stretched thin, I get overstimulated, I need alone time, I can't handle the chaos. And for some parents, they really can handle the chaos. Me personally, I can't. I'm one of those people that needs that time alone. I'm a solitary animal. And if I don't get my alone time, I'm not going to feel good. And if I don't feel good, I'm not going to show up as the best parent that I can be. The fourth theme that came across pretty often was wanting to be the best mom that you can be to the child that you already have. Some quotes that I got were, I'd rather be an amazing mom to one than an okay mom to two. She deserves all of me. I want to give them the best life. And a lot of us understand that if we're stretched thin, if we have too many things to handle, too much on our plate, if we've pushed our capacity, then we can't be a good mom. We want to make sure that we're showing up as our best self. And the way that we know that we can do that is by not having another one. The fifth thing that showed up a lot was a lack of a village. And this is heavy for all mothers, but there's something weird that society has done over the last 100 or so years where we've put moms into these little boxes and said, parent all by yourself. You're not really part of society. You're just this mom over here and you're not going to get any help. You should know how to do this all by yourself. And I think that really plays into why the mental health of mothers is so bad. We need a village. We're biologically programmed to raise children together. And if we don't have that help, our mind and our bodies kind of goes into like survival mode because we've been exiled from our group with a child, someone that depends on us completely, and we don't have anyone to depend on to help us care for them. And as a social species, that puts us deeply into survival mode. The sixth theme that came across a lot was obviously sleep deprivation. I completely connect with this one. I could not handle it. I could not do it again. Sleep is a big part of why I'm not having another one because I need my sleep. I go absolutely insane if I'm not getting enough sleep. Waking up every 30 to 60 minutes. The sleep is torture. I'm exhausted just thinking about it. People need 8 hours of solid sleep in order to be a functioning human being. The system that we've created for mothers is almost impossible to exist in. It's almost impossible to be a good mother and still take care of yourself and still get 8 hours of sleep and get the food that you need in the system we've created for motherhood. And sleep deprivation is a serious health concern. In any other situation, if somebody wasn't sleeping for a year, 2 years, you'd be pretty worried about them. But moms and parents were just like, that's just part of being a parent. No, I'm good. I'm not going to do that again. The seventh theme that came across often was financial pressures. Raising a child in the United States right now is so expensive. Childcare costs, first of all, medical costs. The cost to even give birth in the hospital is too much. I'm 2.5 years out and I still have not financially recovered from giving birth to my child, and I'm on really good health insurance. Cost of living is too high. Some people had to do IVF. I don't know how much that costs, but it can't be cheap. People are paying more than their mortgage for childcare, and we have to have 2-income households. Mom can't stay home because the cost of living is way too high. Or you're in a situation where you're scaling back so that mom can stay home because the cost of childcare outweighs how much she's making at work. It actually makes no sense to me how people are affording a second one. My husband and I, we have pretty good jobs. My husband owns his own business. I'm on salary. We're comfortable, but a second one would push us out of comfortable. This is one that I really understand. The eighth one is relationship strain and marriage struggles and protecting your marriage. My marriage went through hell when we had our first child, and I will be totally honest that I do not think that our marriage would be able to handle a second one, and that's just because of the way that we work together. We've really had to grow as a couple in order to even stay together for the first one. But people said things like, my marriage barely survived one, we wouldn't make it through another, I want time with my partner. And that's another really big one, is people are wanting alone time, and they're also wanting time to be with the person that they love without having the responsibility tending to and caring for their child. And it's great having your child around all the time if it's just one, right? Like, we love being our little family of 3. It's so sweet, but I feel like I would be really overwhelmed and not be able to be present with my husband and with my child if we had another one. Fertility, health risks, and starting your family at a later age were also a very common theme that came up. A lot of people told me that, you know, they tried for another one and they had miscarriages, and that just kind of made them feel like they didn't want to keep trying. I personally kind of understand that because I did also have a miscarriage when my daughter was about 2, and for me that was kind of the deciding factor, because getting pregnant for me was like, oh, I actually really don't want 2 kids. And then I ended up having a miscarriage, and it felt like a blessing. It felt like the answer that I needed. There was a lot of people who'd been through infertility and paid a ton of money to get their first child, and they couldn't do another cycle, or they didn't want to do another cycle. I know IVF can be so hard on your mental health, and to go through that one time is hard enough, but to have to go through that twice, not really worth it to some people. The 10th thing that came up a lot was feeling overstimulated or experiencing some kind of neurodivergence, and that making you feel more overstimulated and overwhelmed by being a parent. I get this. I'm not neurodivergent in any way, but I do get very, very overstimulated very easily. I'm really working on it. Mom rage is something that I have struggled with since I had my daughter, and I had to really be easy on myself at first because a lot of that is hormonal, and mom rage is something that's just now starting to be talked about, but it is so overwhelming when you feel it. It's like your whole body gets like hot and full of just like you just want to explode, and having your child make you feel like that is so just disorientating. And now that I'm kind of moving to the other side of that, that's not something that I ever want to experience again. The 11th thing was something that I really identify with as well, which is like the lifestyle. The lifestyle of one and done is nice. Like, it really is just a amazing little family of 3 and so peaceful. And I feel like if I need to go somewhere, it's easier. If I need to have her watch somebody, it's easier. My husband and I do date nights every Saturday night, and my mom watches our one child. I feel like if we had more kids, it would be harder for us to have that alone time. Some things that people said in regards to this were, I like my life. I want my freedom, which I completely identify with. The freedom piece and the alone time piece is so important to me. I don't want to start over. Yeah. The weight of pregnancy, postpartum, giving birth, all of it, it's just so heavy, and something that some people just don't want to experience again. Like, it wasn't a joyful experience for me, and I don't want to do it again. Yeah, and I want time for me, which is, it's kind of expected that mothers don't get time for themselves, that mothers shouldn't want time for themselves. And I think that's really sad. It's something that we need to move away from, because mothers are humans. Mothers have human emotions, and it's important that we allow mothers to also be humans. You're a mom, but you're also a human being, and you deserve to have access to yourself and your own emotions, and have your own free time, and have your own life outside from being a mother. And the 12th thing is feeling complete. Our family feels complete. I just don't want more. Why mess with perfection? I always say, like, I won the lottery with my daughter. I really did. I always wanted a girl. That's just what I wanted. I just wanted my daughter. I never considered more than that. I was never like, I want multiple kids. I was like, I just want a daughter. And I got my daughter. And I don't feel like I need anything more than that, you know? Across all of these, what I really see is the theme that it's not about not loving your child. It's about knowing your limits, knowing your capacity, and knowing how you want to show up and who you want to be as a parent. There's a political agenda at the moment to get people to have more kids than they're ready for, and more kids than they can afford, have them young. And I fully disagree with this. I think that it's probably great for the men in this situation, but it's not great for the women. And one thing that we know to be true about women who have less kids and have them later in life is that they're higher educated. And I think that might be one of the reasons that the birth rate is dropping in the first place, is because women are becoming more educated. And with higher education, you're pushing the starting of your family later, and you're having less children. And I think that that's a good thing for women, because it gives women more autonomy, more ability to build their life for themselves, build their own wealth, have their own property, which is what we want for women. We want women to feel human, like I was saying earlier, not just a wife and a mother, you're a human being. And I think the one and done lifestyle really allows you to be a human being, to ask yourself, you know, what you really want out of life, and that it's not necessarily the case for you, if you want to be one and done, that motherhood completes you, and that's okay. There's this idea that motherhood is supposed to complete us, and I really don't agree with that. And I love that in the one and done community and the one and done space where we're having these conversations, we're kind of doing away with this idea that motherhood is the end all be all and the thing that we should strive to be. A child is a part of your life. It's not your entire life. It's not like your whole purpose, you know? So anyway, write down in the comments what your reasoning is for being one and done. I'd love to know, and I appreciate you being here.